Now, after studying about the concept of molecular evolution of life, it was necessary to provide the experimental evidence or the proof on this basis that the molecular evolution of life theory was true. The molecular evolution of life is supported by a number of laboratory experiments that were performed by different scientists, out of which the most famous and the most trustworthy experiment was Urey and Miller's experiment. As said, Urey and Miller were the scientists who proposed an experimental evidence to prove the molecular evolution of life as correct. As we all know that the origin of life by molecular evolution was first proposed by Oparin and Haldane. However, their views and ideas remain unexplained without any experimental evidence till 1953. So, in 1953, these two scientists, that is Urey and his student Miller, gave an experimental evidence to prove the concept of molecular evolution of life. In this experiment, these scientists created a condition which was similar to that of the primitive Earth in the laboratory. This figure depicts the experimental setup condition by Urey and Miller that was in the form of primitive Earth. As it can be seen from the figure that in this experiment they boiled water in order to produce steam. This steam was allowed with the mixtures of ammonia, methane, water, oxygen in a reaction chamber. This mixture was treated with an electric shock via electrodes in order to create a current, which was then condensed in a cold form, and this liquid was then connected to another flask where this liquid got collected. Thus, the steps in this experiment were: water was boiled to produce steam, which was mixed with the mixtures of elemental components, that is water, ammonia and methane. Further, it was providing electric shock via electrodes. Which was connected to the condenser for cooling down the mixture and to form in droplet form. That was collected in another flask. Then, after 2 weeks of such a treatment, this mixture was, that is this liquid, was analyzed with a technique called chromatography. That is, through this technique, different gases or the mixtures that are present within them gets arranged in different layers in a differential manner. On the basis of this technique, it was observed that the liquid contained various components like amino acid, hydroxy acid, and aliphatic acids. These acids generally occur in the simple organic form. On this basis, Miller stated that amino acids would have been produced under the influence of UV light, that is ultraviolet light, and lightning. Because these were considered as the electric current in the form of shock. And so these factors like UV light and lightning were essential for the formation of amino acid according to this experiment. Now, after studying about the concept and evidence for the molecular evolution of life, there are various stages that are involved in such life form concept. This we have already studied earlier, that the cells were formed from the protocells. It is these cells that form the basic structure and functional unit of any life of the organism. Therefore, for any organism that is present on this earth are classified mainly into two types, that is prokaryotic and eukaryotic. This we have already studied in the previous semesters. That the cells are of two types, prokaryotic and eukaryotic. After this, the division is made on the basis of phyla or kingdom, where two kinds of kingdom occur, that is plant and animal kingdom. Where plants mainly included bryophytes, thallophytes, and pteridophytes. That even included the seed-containing plants. In animals, the kingdom was classified into various types, like the protist, which possessed well-developed nucleus that was observed for the first time. Following it, another occurs is the multicellular animal that can be either with tissues or without tissues. Therefore, following it, depending on the development of other organs or appendages, further animals were classified and were placed in the vertebrate section. Now these vertebrates included mainly five, that is amphibians, reptiles, pisces, aves, and mammals. Now, amphibians and reptiles were formed after a long period when the Earth's crust was dried. Following reptiles, that is, mainly apes and mammals, occurred or originated from the reptiles, out of which mainly mammals included apes and man. Apes that includes monkeys, and man, that is human beings. Thus, in this manner, the animal and plant classification or the various cellular classification was done.